Welcome! Happy National Star Wars Day! Happy National Star Wars Day it is. And today, for Ian Preston Reviews, welcome to Ian Preston Reviews. Indeed, you are on that channel. His second channel it is. And I myself will review Return of the Jedi, Episode 6 of Star Wars for its 40th anniversary for National Star Wars Day indeed. Anyway, it all starts out with Darth Vader letting his employees know indeed that the Emperor will be coming to the Death Star, the newly built second Death Star, and then C-3PO and R2-D2 go to Jabba's palace. And they do. And they give out the message from Luke Skywalker, now Jedi Knight, to try to bargain for Solo's life, but then the droids become the Jabba's assistants, and Jabba refuses to give up Solo, who is now frozen in carbonite. And meanwhile, what happened next? Oh yeah, Chewbacca comes, and Leia, disguised as a bounty hunter, gets Chewbacca, apprehended by the Gamorrean guards. And Leia, disguised as the bounty hunter, what does she do? I can't remember indeed. Oh, I remember now. She, bargains with Jabba, and then eventually, yes, a big alien frog thing swallows a little dude. And then, indeed, later that night, oh yeah, Land of Calrissian was in disguise. And then Leia unfreezes Solo, but Solo gets apprehended, thrown in prison, reunites with Chewbacca, but then all of a sudden, Carrie Fisher's character Leia becomes Jabba's servant too. But then Luke comes, hypnotizes Bib Fortuna to see Jabba, and then Jabba refuses to hand over the Leia and the Wookiee, and Solo, then he fights a Rancor and fights it off and kills it with his skills, but then they go to the Sarlacc pit and try to sacrifice Han and Luke. But then Luke uses his skills to defeat all of Jabba's servants. Leia chokes Jabba to death and kills him, and then everyone gets out safely and destroys the sail barge and explodes. And then the Emperor arrives and plans on making Luke one of their own at the Death Star. And then, Luke visits me, who I'm sick and old, and then I reveal that his father, Darth Vader, he is. And, eventually, I end up passing away when I was saying there's another Skywalker. They tell him to be aware of fear, anger, and aggression, and do not underestimate the powers of the Emperor. And then Ben comes as a Force ghost after I pass away, saying I'll always be with Luke. And then he reveals, and Luke learns that Leia is Luke's twin sister. He is. They have a meeting about destroying the Death Star, and then Luke, Han, Leia, Chewie, and 3PO and R2-D2 go on Shuttle Tydirium after a meeting, and Calrissian will lead the fleet to attack the Death Star. And they go out there, and then they convince them to deactivate the shield to get to Endor. They get into a high-speed pursuit chase on the speeder bikes from the scout troopers indeed. And then Luke and Leia get separated. When Luke comes back, they end up having to go out and search for her. And the Emperor reveals that Luke will come to Vader. And then Luke and Han, R2 and 3PO and Chewie get into a trap and get apprehended by Ewoks. And then Leia, who apparently met an Ewok and took down 2 scout troopers earlier, are now with the Ewoks. And then she tries to convince them to let them go. And then Luke uses his magic, and 3PO can communicate with the Ewoks, and then indeed he can. And then Luke uses his powers to convince them to release them. C-3PO tells stories about what has happened, And now they become a part of the tribe. Luke reveals that to Leia that the truth about Vader being his father, and he has to leave, and has to excuse me. Anyway, he also reveals that she is his sister, and she couldn't believe it. Emotionally, after Luke left, emotionally, Leia and Han embrace, and then Luke surrenders to the Empire, and then tries to convince Vader not to be in the dark side. But then all of a sudden, he just refuses and takes him to the Emperor, but Luke tries to resist the Emperor, but Vader says it's pointless to do that. But Emperor Sidious says that it was him who allowed the Alliance to know the location of the shield generator, and it'll be operational, and they're going into a trap. And then the rebels get apprehended and captured, and then eventually the shield is still up, and then the fighters and the starfighters start attacking the rebel fleet, and then they start fighting back, and then eventually the rebels and the Ewoks start fighting the soldiers too, but then the Death Star ends up firing at some ships, and sadly Emperor Sidious reveals that their fate is lost, and that your friends in the Endor moon will not survive. The Alliance will die, as will your friends. Then Luke gets in, tries to strike the Emperor down, but then all of a sudden gets into a fierce battle with lightsaber battle with his father Vader. And then eventually, when Vader's trying to push him to get to the dark side, Luke loses it and defeats him and slices his arm off. But then the Emperor tries to get Luke to the dark side indeed, but Luke refuses indeed, and then gets zapped and electrocuted by Sidious's Sith lightning. But Vader gets up, reveals himself to be Anakin, and then, decides to go back to being Anakin indeed, and sacrifices himself to save Luke. He throws the Emperor in the shaft indeed, and then he explodes into lightning and magic. And then, with the Ewoks' help, they get to the shield, and the shield generator explodes. The rebels get to go inside the Death Star to destroy it once and for all. And they destroy all the starships, including the Super Starship, which was Vader's ship. Luke takes off Vader's mask to see his father's face before his father dies. And then they get on a ship and escape, while the rebels all escape after destroying the main reactor, exploding the Death Star. And then Leia tells Han that Luke is her brother, and they share a kiss. And then Luke burns his father's corpse and stands being the last Jedi he is. And then he reunites with all the rebels and his friends and sister, and he sees me, his father, Obi-Wan, as Force ghosts. He does. And the rebels share a big victory in all over the galaxy. They share a big victory defeating the Empire. Anyway, Richard Marquand, I think, directed this. This is from George Lucas and Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher. John Williams did the music, and starring Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford, Billy D. Williams, James Earl Jones as the voice of Darth Vader, Frank Oz, who does me, he does, Ian McDiarmid as the Emperor, indeed, Anthony Daniels, Sir Anthony Daniels, indeed, Larry Ward, Kenny Baker, Peter Mayhew, indeed. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more videos and reaction videos as always, and plain old review videos, and just plain old review videos and reviews, reactions, just reviews, movie reviews. And this is its 40th anniversary movie review for Return of the Jedi, which is episode 6. Indeed it is, 40 years. And check out Ian Preston, you will. Link will be in the description, it will be. And I peace you all out. May the 4th be with you. Happy National Star Wars Day, it is indeed.